this meeting, Tuesday night meeting to order. Yes, do roll call. Albert Yount.
Here.
David Harwood.
Here.
Melissa Piggott.
Here.
Pete Greeny.
Yes.
If we would, let's stand, and Albert, if you'll lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do I have a motion for approval of the regular minutes?
So moved. Second.
Albert. David.
Aye.
Melissa.
Aye.
Pete.
Aye.
Do I have a motion for the closed session meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Albert. David.
Aye.
Melissa.
Aye.
Pete.
Aye.
Do we have a motion to adopt the regular agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Albert. David.
Aye.
Melissa.
Aye.
Pete.
Aye.
And one last thing, do we have a motion for the consent agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
Albert. Dave.
Aye.
Melissa.
Aye.
Pete.
Aye.
Okay. We have Hillary. Anybody signed up to speak tonight? Okay.
Nobody.
Nobody. Okay, could be shortest meeting in history. Okay, special recognition, Daughters of the American Revolution Proclamation. Mr. Rothrock.
Yes, sir. I'd be glad to read this proclamation. This is for Constitution Week. Whereas September 17th, 2023 marks the 236th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper and to accord official recognition to the magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Charlie Sellers, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the town of Blowing Rock, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained.
Good. Okay, moving right along, regular agenda, the BRAC reorganization, Manager Mr. Rothrock, please, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Matheson and members of the council. At the mid-year retreat in June, council asked staff to consider a reorganization of BRAC that added a recreation and public land representation to the commission. BRAC members reported that at the retreat that they wanted public projects to go before them prior to going to council for consideration. In response, please see the attached draft ordinance language that would widen the scope of BRAC with the addition of a recreation public land oversight component. Language has also been added to clarify that BRAC has the responsibility of acting as the tree board since 2020, and that just was not followed up in the text of the ordinance. So I added that back that you adopted back in 2020. This is just the first draft, trying to wrestle with some of the different things that we talked about at retreat. And if you decide to move forward, with this, or please provide some recommendations or direction that we can take this back to planning board for further study and evaluation on how, if BRAC should be reorganized, how it should be done if it is, and who the components of that would be, and if there's any other special responsibilities added. I have put a few in here that are highlighted. I'd like to get to that if I could. If I can get that any larger. But a couple of the things I'll point out to you that just struck me as I was trying to go down through this is the name change. This is just my recommendation. We can start over or leave it as is. Public Land and Recreation Commission is what I kind of came up with, but we'd be glad to look at other ways. Adding up to 9 members, or actually 9 members instead of the 5 that's currently on BRAC. That could be a different number, but it usually ought to be odd, so you can always, if you've got a quorum, you can have enough to vote and break a tie. No vote is a tie. Typically, it would work that way. Members would still serve 3-year terms. And then I added this, if we're going to include some recreation component, that they have a background in either recreation, someone have a background in recreation, coaching, or sports administration. Again, that doesn't have to be. One of the things added to run responsibilities to review proposed amendments and improvements to town parks, facilities, properties, and right-of-ways, and provide recommendations related to those proposals. As I mentioned earlier about, added that language about the tree board. That's pretty much it. We can have the planning board dig in further, deeper. Be glad to answer any questions and respond accordingly.
We used to have 9 members and they could never get a quorum. So why would we want to visit that again?
The idea is that we're adding some membership from the previous recreation committee that was formed to look at the park, and maybe there'd be enough members to fill that void. Could be 7, could be, you could keep it at 5, whatever you'd like to do.
I think 9 is just too cumbersome. And now, explain to me, we've got Corey, who's not under Jennifer anymore, is that correct?
That's right.
Well, who will they be actually working with for or what? Town people? Both of those?
Yes, Corey and Jennifer both would be a liaison to this board if it's drafted this way.
It says in here, council appoints and the mayor can remove. That just seems,
That's the way it's written currently in the ordinance. I think that needs to be changed, but it's currently written that way for some reason.
well, that makes a little sense to me, but I mean, I'm just bringing it up for discussion.
Well, no, I would agree with that. I'm just saying that I don't think that was a change. That's the
not
current
a
way
change.
it's written.
That's current text.
That's how it's written now.
That's how it's written now.
So to follow up with what Albert was asking, is the 5 to 9, I mean, there's no magic number that, I mean, the council makes a decision, right?
Yes, and your ultimate decision is after it comes from planning board, it comes back for public hearing. It's just for open discussion, but
Okay.
ultimately it'd be coming back to you.
So it's not hard and fast that it's going to be 9.
No,
I agree with Albert. I think that's an overreach.
okay.
Well, you have the possibility you can't get a quorum and then you're another month behind.
And that's what was happening back in
You used to always have.
4, 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
That was happening, yes, sir.
I was gonna say,
But-
when I was originally appointed to it, it was 9, and then I think my second year it went to 7, and then after that it went to 5, because we weren't able to meet quorums. Kevin, I'm curious, and this might be more of a Jennifer question than a you question, but adding the recreation part to it, is that really something that this board is going to be dealing with, or is that still something that's going to stay in-house in Jennifer's department? Because I know.
It's more of the property, so activities and events and programs will still be under Parks and Recreation, under Jennifer's purview, that department. This is more from the standpoint of
This would be more of the
facilities.
park side.
Yes. And maybe I went too far in the recreation when I was trying to gather ideas out of the retreat, but I think David made a suggestion about the recreational task force, and maybe I didn't serve on it, I don't know. It was more focused on public land.
Because as far as like the Parks and Rec Committee, Task Force, whichever, I don't know the term that we put to that, but I saw it more as like a strategic planning group. And then the future I thought was for BRAC to be more of the hands-on putting that strategic plan into effect. Am I thinking that correct, David?
Yes and no. So that advisory group was for strategic planning and to establish more or less mission statements for each park and something to gauge future improvements to those parks against, if they were appropriate. Something we might put in Memorial Park might not be appropriate for Broyhill, for instance. So, but Kevin is right in that this combined committee or commission would be focused on facilities and parks versus activities / recreation.
Yes.
And maybe the hangup is just the word recreation.
Maybe it is, yeah. I just remember the committee that you had, or the task force.
Was Parks and Recreation Advisory.
Yes, and so
It
I don't know
was.
how much of that you wanted to carry over, or if you're gonna, whatever is brought into this BRAC or this new group is gonna come with it, or if it's, no, we're gonna focus more on public land and how it's used.
And part of that was we were strategizing for the Part F grant too. So there was some recreation involved in there. That group was not organized. It was a very standalone, temporary, 1 or 2 purpose committee. Wasn't formed to be a standing committee. So this is a nice, and what came out of that was you really didn't have a group, an advisory group that was dealing with our parks, and that someone a group that could advocate for the parks. Much in the way BRAC has advocated for things that they've done. So I think this is a nice combination of the two, and I think maybe the word recreation could be hanging us up.
Okay. One thing I didn't include that I just dawned on me, that BRAC's responsibility is to review public art.
That's what I was getting ready to lead to.
Yes.
See, we're jiving. I didn't think about it, but that needs to be included as we go forward.
Are you finished with your?
Yes.
Okay.
For now, yes.
Okay, so, how would reading through this, if we were doing something, and let's use the wayfinding, for instance. I understand TDA's role in that, but some of that's gonna be on public land or in our parks. And how would that, a project like that, or a project like the restrooms, move through this commission, planning board, and council? And do we need to define that? So that,
I think we should.
so that
define
then it's black and white, what's the
Yes.
process that's supposed to happen?
I think that if it's on public land and this group is focused more on that, I think it could go to them and then go straight to council. I don't know that you have to involve the planning board. You could. I don't know that you would have to if the responsibility is clearly laid out in this group.
I think we could put some work into that piece of it.
I'm curious, why did you take out strike advisory all the way through there?
I just thought it.
Because they still are an advisory
Sure.
commission. Just shorten the
I
title?
did,
or-
yes, yeah. I just did. I didn't, no reason, just to make the title more concise. Because in one place, it was the original title in the code is Appearance Commission. As you go down through it, the word advisory comes up. Appearance Advisory Commission. Because it was not in the original title, I struck it from all the rest of the text. It can stay in. But they still provide advisory resources, and they still provide a recommendation, just like planning board does.
Right. So what you're asking, David, is that you'd like to see it, and I think, Kevin, that it come directly, their suggestions come directly to us?
Well, I think it's really clear how something marches through staff, planning board, and town council.
Right.
How does that process work with this commission? And in what instance do they definitely need to be consulted? Is that at the pleasure of the council whether or not something needs to go before them? Or is there a hard and fast rule that something has to go before them?
I think that's been part of the problem.
Right.
In the past is, yeah, I think
It's ambiguous.
personal opinion, I think it needs to be set up like the public art project was set up, where these are the guidelines for public art. There's an application process, and these are the guidelines you go by. And I think that would need to be for any project done on town property. So kind of like the History Walk or maybe Plaza, they would have step by step, they would have an application, and they would know when they came to BRAC or whatever the new name might be, when they came to them, they know exactly what they need to bring, what's required of them, what steps they're going to go through, and then when they finish those steps, it'll move to this group based on if it's a, 4-to-1 recommendation out of BRAC or whatever, the recommendation would come to this group.
You can
Because that's how the
identify
art
some of the.
policy works.
Yeah, you can identify the policies that would be under this, not in the code. But the code would just identify, these are responsibilities.
Yes.
How you get there
And
would
then,
be.
yeah, because that's kind of how,
Application.
Right.
the art policy that's one of their things, but then BRAC sat down and came up, there's how long, 4-page application that talks about, but it covers everything, from the size of the structure to if there's electricity, who's covering the maintenance, why it's installed, so I would think that projects on town property would probably be a little more involved application, but I think that's what needs to be set up for this.
Okay.
That's a very good question. I want to ask, just, if I come into town with a big checkbook and I want to build a building across the street, am I going to come in contact with this group?
On private land, no.
Okay,
You go to planning inspections, and that project either goes planning board and the council, or just stays with the zoning permit in-house.
well, that's what I wanted to know. We got enough boards for that now.
I'm sorry?
Even on the tree ordinance.
Yes.
If I cut down a tree, it'd probably trigger something.
Well,
wouldn't it?
that's administrative. That's handled in planning and inspections. Public trees on public land, that would be evaluated
Okay,
through this board. As the tree board, that would be their responsibility.
okay,
That's what got them their Tree City rating.
Yeah, and they act as the tree board, and that's their one of their roles.
That came through when the large tree project was being done in the park, because we wanted to put into effect a long-term plan, because we got caught off guard when the trees in the front had to be taken down. We wanted a long-term plan, and that's where the tree board and Tree City and everything came into play.
Yeah.
Well, has Brett considered this?
I
We
sent
saw
it
input
to,
from them.
Whitney responded to me with an email, and so I followed up with her the end of last week with this draft. And we responded back and forth a couple questions. But,
With no comments?
no, she had a question about the recreation component related to the criteria for membership. But,
Jennifer, was all of the BRAC board members involved in this, or just Whitney?
We had a meeting, we had a BRAC meeting. Sorry, I have no address. We had a BRAC meeting and we had this as a major discussion in our BRAC meeting. And they were very open to combining the two boards, and pretty much what you guys are saying is having a process for public land that they would like to see. When somebody wants to come and build something or do something on public land, there's a process to that. So they were all very open and pretty much tasked Whitney with helping, working with Kevin to come up with all of this.
The other thing that I would add is the murals that the town owns. We have one on the back of the Parks and Rec building. But this one across the street, the old Capel building, or that's what I call it, is owned by the town. We own that. And that's not on public land. And it actually needs some attention. So I think the disposition, maintenance, anything to do with our murals should be included in that too.
okay.
That might be,
I kind of figured that it would fall under the art part.
I was gonna say, that might be something that needs to be, like a subcategory of the public art policy, and that maybe there needs to be a fund set up to maintain anything that, even future pieces that might be added into the public art that the town owns or something. That there might need to be a fund, and that could be added into possibly their fundraising efforts that they do.
Okay.
Kevin, this is strictly a personal opinion. I do not like the new name. I was gonna say, the saying public land makes me automatically think of like Yosemite, these big national parks.
Okay.
I'm just like,
I am not hurt by that.
I'm sorry.
We can go any way, any direction.
Call it BRAC.
I'm looking for some suggestions.
I would like to see a little adjustment on the name. I don't
Okay.
know, like,
Call it BRAC, I don't have to relearn anything.
And we can't. There was just notion about changing it.
yes.
My plan is to hand this over to Brian and let him run with it and take it to planning board, but invite Brack, hey, we're gonna probably be the September meeting next Thursday and have some additional input.
Yes. And I would like to see possibly some, the art added into it.
Yes, I got that bit written down.
And I would, along with everything else been said, would suggest you probably get with both the park, the David's old committee and BRAC, and see if there's a strong enough interest there that you need 9 people. Because we have run into that in the past about a board getting so big that we've ended up having to reduce it. So,
Well, I won't do that again.
and we don't want to go through that again. So, you know, you might want to look, see how strong that interest is.
Okay.
David raised something that's interesting to me, and I'll ask the attorney. The mural he's talking about, that's not on town property, it's across the street on the side of a privately owned building. It's been there for how many years?
2010.
What if somebody has bought that and gonna build a building there, and obviously, we'd probably have to take it down. What if I own that building and I said, you're not taking that off my building? Do we have any kind of,
I'd have to go back in time to see, were there any written agreements as to how that was gonna be held, maintained, owned? What are the rights to sever it from the existing building, and what's the proposed future? Too many variables there for me
Yeah.
to say one way or
I
another.
understand, I very seriously doubt we got anything backing it up.
We did.
That might be an agreement.
We got an agreement with that. when we
Yeah,
did
it was
that.
2009, 2010, something like
Somewhere
that.
right in
But the
there.
building has been sold,
The agreement would go with.
and I don't know if said agreement might go like an easement.
Yeah, we'd have to look at both the original agreement in terms of the art that's located on the building and the purchase agreement possibly in terms of how that deals with, does it convey with the property or the right to host it, et cetera. Yeah, I'd have to look at both of those
Okay.
agreements to really see what's contained in them. But it could be, you know, if our original agreement said it's to maintain, you know, as long as this building's here, it's to remain there and run with title to the land, then like a well on a piece of property or a right to drive across it, it could continue there. Just depends on the language.
Okay.
Anybody else, Pete?
You got all that?
So-
Kevin?
I got it written down.
You're getting there.
This is
Hope Brian's listening.
You good there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next, we have, traffic update, and I think we have Lieutenant Kirk. Captain Kirk, okay. Beam me up, Scotty, and come on in.
Unfortunately, Chief has a funeral that he has to go to today, so you'll have to, it's me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is just some bullet points that I'm gonna go over regarding the traffic and radar signs and information that we've had.
Thanks, Ethan.
So as y'all know, we've got the radar signs out there on 321 now. Those are permanent north and southbound lanes. And this is just an example, the number right there, number 1, that's from the 5th of September to the 11th. We had a total of 44,000 cars come through on 321. The highest volume was at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. The highest risk vehicles, which is they're traveling the highest amount of speed, average is about 1 p.m. And that's just during this week. Now, reports can be generated. We like to see a week long, can be over the weekend, holidays, Labor Day. But this is just this is what it's pretty much run every time, is that the highest volumes in the afternoon, morning time, school, work hours, and then the high risk vehicles are in the afternoon. Mobile radar signs, we have those. We've been putting them through the town. Typically, I put some examples on here of speeding complaints that we've gotten. Ransom Street, Green Hill Road, Yanalasi or 221. And I've gone through and I've put and numbered, just for an example, Ransom Street, we had the mobile sign out there, and that was in July 10th to the 19th. We've got a total of 4,322 cars. That has been uptick, and I think that's due to the construction on Main Street. People are sliding down Ransom Street and then coming up Sunset. So there are bigger volumes of cars coming down through there. The highest peak on Ransom is at 4 p.m. and the highest speed vehicles are coming through at 1. Green Hill Road, this was in June 18th to the 24th in the 1500 block. I don't see Mr. Parsons, but he's someone that calls in frequently and mentions speeding, and he's been gracious enough to let us sit in his driveway and run radar. We've run radar, we've done traffic checks up there, we've done LiDAR, different clocks. We put the mobile sign up there during this time frame, and during that time frame, we've had a total of 2,392 cars come through. Highest volume is at 3 p.m. right after school, and the highest risk vehicles are at 5 to 6. So quitting time is what we're seeing. Yalalassee 221, this was August 21st to the 26th. We had a total of 13,238 cars come through, highest volume being at 12 p.m. And the highest risk vehicles are at 2 o'clock. So we're trying to focus our enforcement efforts during these high peak times. But as you can see, they're all really close together of when that is. And we also have to factor in school traffic. And also, we are currently 2 positions short right now. All the patrol officers are radar certified. We have 2 officers that are LiDAR certified. That's just the point and shoot radar. The total traffic stops for last year was 2,766. This year, as of yesterday, it was 2,014 that we've done so far. And you can see all the way back, I started keeping data in 2014. It went from 153 up to what it is now. So it's been a significant climb. And I'm hoping that we can finish out strong this year and have more than what we did last year with our current staffing levels. That's what we're working with. But I can take any other questions or anything like that. I can show you what the data looks like from those signs if you're interested in seeing those as well.
Any questions for the captain here?
I've got a question, but it's not about the speeding.
I got enough feeling, I know what your question is.
Yes, sir.
When you go south on Ransom,
Mm-hmm.
and we authorized, and it got done, a 3-way stop at Hank.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the stop sign ahead almost looks like it's a half mile down the road?
I've wondered that myself. But I'm not a street engineer and I actually don't know who put those signs up. But I've always wondered that. You come around the corner and you're already starting to slow down and then it's 30 yards ahead.
Yeah.
So,
Who would be the man, Kevin? Matt?
Yes, sir.
You got that down there in your notes?
Yes, sir. Do.
You're coming along.
Dave?
Yes, sir. I sympathize with Mr. Parsons
yeah.
and know he has been very focused on Green Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Does the department or yourself have an opinion about speeding on Green Hill?
Are there speeders on Green Hill? Absolutely. But as we can see here, just from sheer volume, we have more people on Ransom Street than we do Green Hill. Now, granted, this is at different times. You know, it's not specific. I didn't do the specific week because that's a mobile radar sign. So if I wanted to do a specific study, I could do that and just get some numbers that way. But I will tell you, Sergeant Hunt is here today. I had him and Officer Hayes go up there. Officer Hayes is a LiDAR operator. They sat up there at the 1500 block, clocked 50 vehicles, I think 2 max speed. There was 2 of them. Max speed might have been about 35. So, but when you have a marked patrol car, that's automatically going to slow people down.
Right.
So we try to sit in opportune places where we can do that, but to actually conduct a traffic stop on Green Hill, we're very limited. 1500 block is probably the safest place to do that because you have a straightaway right there. You can turn around with somebody, have 2 cars positioned the way they need to, and the road is wide enough. So I think there are speeders up there. Is that the highest speeding area? No, I can tell you right now, the highest speeding area is 321 and 221. And that's based off of stats.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Pete?
Ethan, what is the department's position on filling those two vacancies?
Well, we do have them posted right now. We posted them last week, and so far we have 12 applications. And it seems like the nature of the beast now is you need to hire somebody and send them to school. Out of the 12, we've had one that's actually certified, does not live in the area, lives down in Raleigh. And, you know, Officer Cook is leaving. She's going back home. She lived around Raleigh. She's going to Morrisville, I believe is where she took a job at, so she's moving back home. So that's our second position that we don't have filled right now.
Is salary a problem or consideration when you're recruiting?
Absolutely. Salary is constantly evolving and changing across the state. I just came back from a budgeting class in Rowan and talked to Charlotte Meck and different agencies. Now they're much larger, but there were some smaller agencies and stuff as well. But that's like musical chairs, you know. And it's like when I did the pay study, our pay was low, the county's higher, ASU's the highest. And it continues to do that every year. You know, it rotates. By the time our pay study's done, we really need to be starting a new one, because that's just how quickly it's changing. Since we did our pay study, county, ASU, Boone, everybody's increased pay 10% or more. And night shift differential, everybody jumped on the bandwagon there, and everybody has that as well now too. So it's a constant revolving, trying to stay up with the times.
So if it continues to be a problem in hiring, are you going to come back to Kevin and say, start looking at salary increases?
Absolutely. I will come over here and beg for money anytime you need me to.
Well, if you're being put at a competitive disadvantage, I mean.
I would say the disadvantage is not as big as what it used to be, but are we the highest paid agency? No.
Right.
But I don't think that would be a hard block to check when you have the competition that we do have in the county. So.
I know
Thank
that
you.
it used to, a few years ago, it's so competitive with this agencies being so close right here.
Yeah.
And you'd have Boone would be the highest, and then it'd be the county would be the highest, and then we may move up close, and then somebody else, you know, Beach or somebody, you know, the county may go up ahead, and it's just a revolving door there because you're competing within such a small radius for everybody. So it makes it hard, real stepping stone.
And I will say too, North Carolina is changing the academy. They're adding so many more hours. So I think the way it's looking right now, this might be the last class that they have that graduates within a semester's time frame. After this, moving forward, there's a pilot program in 3 different schools. After this, moving forward next year, the class will begin in August and won't graduate until February of the next year. So you're looking at possibly only having 1 graduating class per year. So that's going to make it challenging as well.
Well, at least I think we did, bought, I don't know that you ordered them yet, because we got a thing about the hybrid versus strictly gas availability.
Yeah.
I think that's been resolved, I think.
We have all the cars except for one now. They are not hybrid. That is just Ford absolutely would not give you a build date. We had hybrids ordered for well over a year. They never came through. Ford wouldn't give us a build date, so we had to go and just scrape what you could find on lots. We went all the way to South Carolina to get a car, and the other ones came from Raleigh, and then another one came from somewhere else down east.
Well, I remember that we did that, the 2 additional guys, and the bias was that they would patrol 321 mostly. Is that still in the forefront of the plan?
So they're going to be on 321 mostly? Is that what we're talking about?
That's what I thought. At least I got that feeling. Did you?
The 2 officers,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what was discussed.
So, I mean, I don't want to see that get trickled away.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's what we had designated them as traffic positions. Now we just need to fill position.
Yeah. Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I don't know what's going on with highway patrol, but I drive to the beach a lot. And it used to be if you speeded on 74 out of Charlotte, you got acquainted with it.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing with the
But
highway
you
patrol
don't
right now is that they're
You
down,
you never see a trooper on that road anymore,
they're
ever.
down hundreds of positions across the state. Hundreds. And that number continues to grow.
Money?
I wouldn't say it's money. I would say a big thing that hit them was the health insurance. They took that away. So when you get hired by highway patrol now, you'll have it while you're working, but it's gone when you retire. So,
One of the benefits they took away.
yeah.
What, kind of veering just a little bit from this, because I know that we got involved with it the other night. Is our policy on pursuit? And I ask that because, we've had a couple, if you see the news, we saw the family that got killed. We do have a policy on police
We do.
chase.
And actually, Sergeant Hunt was actually involved in both of the chases that we had come through. So it's gotta be a marked patrol car. If other units from another jurisdiction join, you have to drop out. So, and that's the policy that came through. Sergeant Hunt had one, he ended in Caldwell, he made their arrest right down off the mountain. And then the other one came from, where did it start at? Drexel, yeah. And came all the way through Caldwell. Caldwell deputies turned around, a Lenore officer came up the mountain. And then our officers jumped in, took it to Boone. Sergeant Hunt called me, we called it off because I don't think Boone got involved, right? It was county units?
As soon as we hit Boone City limits, county was there.
Yeah.
So I went in and disengaged chase.
Yeah. So, and then he got picked up in Tennessee, Johnson County.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did take charges out. So, I mean, our biggest thing when it comes to chasing someone is it has to be for a good reason. I mean, felony is what you're looking for. It's easy to get a felony once they start, speeding that fast and careless and reckless and things like that. But it's also thinking about the town. So if a chase starts and we know it's coming from Caldwell, we're gonna block off Main Street up here so they can't come down into town. We want to get them through town as quickly and easily as possible. So that's what we'll try to do. Is just keep them moving. We don't want them coming down into town, veering off any of our side roads or in the community anywhere. And we've done that a number of times. We had a chase coming from Boone, and I swear that guy had a scanner in there, and we had max amount of officers working. We had every side street blocked off, and we had spike strips ready to go. And he turned around before he came to the city limits and went back toward Boone. So,
You talking about that Hickory thing?
Yeah, and I know that, you're seeing so many pocket rockets, it's just,
yeah. Now, we don't chase motorcycles
yeah.
at all. There's been way too many fatalities when it comes to that.
Can't catch one
No, unfortunately, my brother was involved in one down east. He's also a law enforcement. That's what happened and changed their policy. They split on him. They went after him when he had guide wire and he was done. So that's just try to get their license plate, take charges out.
either.
Anything else?
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Gavin.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, comments, from the board and, council. One thing that I'd like to bring up is just to recognition of a couple of people we've lost in the last week, in Nancy Collins and Kent Tarbutton, two prominent people here in town that was involved with a lot of the town. Kent with Chatola, Nancy, her family, the Pitts family, as long as her dad had been mayor and her brother-in-law had been mayor. So I'd just like to, just mention them tonight as a thought of their passing. Albert?
Oh, I'm still gonna work the attorney. This is probably the shortest meeting of my 16 years, and is there a possibility we can assign emeritus status to the mayor and keep Doug?
I think that's within your.
Okay, be sure that, tell him that I asked.
He's probably watching.
Dave?
I don't have any comments.
Melissa?
I'm good.
Pete?
Yeah, I have a couple things. I met with Dr. Alexander and talked to her about the resource officer that Scott Elliott had said that he was going to look for a grant or something because Blowing Rock was the only town that wasn't covered. And I just asked her if she would be good enough to pursue that, and she said she would. Secondly, we have our Economic Development Commission meeting Thursday, the 21st at 1 o'clock. We have the CEO of the hospital coming to give a full presentation. And then also Jennifer is nice enough to let us go look at the child care center because we've had a lot of requests from around the county about our child care and how it's coming and what it means. So thanks to Jennifer for allowing that to happen. And that's all.
Mr. Deal? You get a chance in these meetings to speak your mind also. You have some thoughts.
I appreciate you having me here in Alan's absence today.
Thank you for being here. Mr. Rothrock?
Jared's gonna give us a brief update on some projects in town, and then Jennifer's gonna give us a little update on the daycare center.
Okay.
So, Jared, if you'll start off, and then I'll finish up.
Good evening, council. I'll stick with the theme of a short meeting, so I will be brief. Our couple of active projects that we have going on here in town, our Main Street Infrastructure Improvements Project. Notice to proceed was August 7th. The contractor has been working for approximately 5 weeks. Right at 1,000 feet of pipe in the ground. It's slow and steady. So far, we haven't encountered anything that is cause for concern. So that project is moving along as planned. I'd like to hear any comments from you guys if you've been through, if you've sat through the traffic control, any concerns, issues.
I think the signals are a genius idea.
I agree. I had that conversation with Doug earlier.
If some of them only knew what they stood for. We had one today that decided to run, so it wasn't.
As brilliant as they are, they can't account for everything.
Yeah.
And then with our park project, notice to proceed with that project was August 21st, so we're 3 weeks in. I hope you had a chance to go over and take a look. Foundation footers have been poured. Block is starting up on that foundation. Silver service has been installed, and have some more utility work that's coming, and then we'll start some vertical construction for phase 2 of the park. The rest of the park, the remainder of the work, that advertisement for rebid is going out later this week, and we hope to receive bids around that October. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Jared.
I will say that was a deep footer.
Over here? Yeah. That's what's required.
Yeah. For a small building, that's a deep footer.
Jennifer?
I'll try to use the microphone since I can't speak. I'll try to use the microphone since you can't hear me. So in the child care facility, we have cabinets installed, countertops installed, sinks got installed today and finished. There was an air intake from the old setup of the building that was kind of in the middle of the floor. That has been moved, and we have now 2 air intakes for each room. So that has been done and completed. We have all the trim and all the doors but one is installed. The bathrooms are almost complete, so we're moving. We're hoping our next steps is to really clean and paint the trim and finish up on some odds and ends. So we're getting there. It's slow but steady.
Is it fair to ask?
No.
Okay.
Don't ask it, don't ask. If I had $1 for every time somebody said, do you know when it's gonna be open?
I just asked her a while ago.
I'd be a
wouldn't tell
millionaire at this point. So completing the building is the easy part. Once the building is complete, then we go through our inspection process. Corey and his guys have gotten all of the fencing together, so they will be installing the fencing around the property soon. And so once we get all of it completed, we'll have a building inspection, a fire inspection, and then we have the state inspector who comes, and she's the big key part to this. So when she comes, if all is well and bright in the world, and we've done everything that we were supposed to, then it's really up to her to give us our licensing. And once we can't open anything until we have our licensing from her. So I know back in June, we reached out to her and said, hey, by chance, if everything was completed today, how soon would you be giving a license out? And she said right now she was 6 weeks behind. Now that was in June. A lot of daycare facilities or childcare facilities want to coordinate their schedules with the school system. So they try to get open by August. So I'm hoping maybe she got her rush through. And so maybe it won't be as long of a wait, but we're working. So,
Good.
Yes, sir.
At what point, Jennifer, would you, or the person that's coming in, start talking about getting grants? Because I understand that there are significant pockets of money that could be reached.
We've been looking into grants. We've been applying for certain grants. It's really hard because childcare is a huge necessity and a lack thereof in a lot of places. There was a grant that we were going to apply for, and we were pretty much told that because our county is not considered a poverty county compared to others, that there was no way we would get funded because there was so many other counties that were in even more desperate need. So, but we have been researching, and we continue to research and try to find places for money. But honestly, once we get up and running, I mean, it shouldn't be a huge cost. It's really just the getting up and running part.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Anybody else?
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
Mr. Rothrock?
I updated you Friday on a couple of these things, so this is just for the public to hear. The most common questions about the El Rincon building and what's going on there. They have just about completed the work down there. And I don't know if El Rincon will come back, but there is a place for a restaurant. I hope that they will, hope they can work that out. That has been a problematic job site because there's 3 streets around it and it's tight quarters, but they've worked really hard the last month since the owner came up. So that's almost done, but as a result of that project, we've asked Green Construction that's going to do our sidewalk from that point down to Hill Street, if they had an opportunity to come up and go ahead and install that sidewalk. And they started this week. They started yesterday, and they started tearing out some of the pavement. So they're going to lay curb, and they're going to do the whole section down to Hill Street. So instead of spring of '24, they're going to move it up to right now. And they can handle that and finish the El Rincon project and all the way down to the corner of Hill Street. So that's good. That's come out of that. Town Hall project, the bathrooms have been painted, sheetrock, sanded, painted, all roughed in and ready to go. Once it's painted, floors go down, appliances go in. So that's moving every day, and that's good. We like to see that happening. Ultimately, we want to do work out front, remove the flagstone in front of Town Hall, planning and inspections, run a new service line out to the street. Also take care of some electrical issues that we need out front related to lighting the tree and some of the other fixtures we have. And then Green Construction has given us a price, I don't remember what it was, but to go back with concrete and eliminate the flagstone. Although it looks great, it's just been a maintenance issue for years. We will still keep the turned up stone border, so we'll still have that rock element as part of it. Wanted to start in September, I don't know if we will, but we'll focusing on that and trying to get it done at some point. Porsche event next week, towards the end of next week, and we've got everything cleared out. They want to have a photo op in front of the back of the fire department with the postcard mural. So that's in play. I think that's it, except one more thing. I wanted to not leave it to last, but I did. I want to recognize Nicole Norman. This is her last meeting. She's taken a job with ASU, as y'all know. 16 years as finance director, and also serving the town as well as the TDA. Serve the town well with integrity, commitment, and absolute accuracy with the highest standards. Keeps the town in solid financial footing in all areas of finance, purchasing, budgeting, annual audit, and many, many other responsibilities. Served as one of the most critical roles with our town. And the roles for local government, and without a solid foundation, we can't do anything. And I want to thank her for her time. 16 years, we've known each other a long time here, and I want to thank her for that and wish her all the best with her new position with ASU.
For your support, and the trust that you put in me throughout the years here. I really appreciate that. And, I'm thankful for the 16 years and the experience that I've gained here. I thank y'all, and, a little bit of my heart will always be in Little Rock. I thank y'all.
Thank you. Well, I think, are the only one in town that's got more hash marks than me. I remember when you came, straight out of ASU.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Going back there.
She's going back to get some of her money back. We do appreciate everything that you have done for us.
That's all I've got.
If nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.